Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining Candidamina every evening to follow what's happening in India and abroad. And thank you for sending me your useful comments and suggestions. If you believe in this channel, do hit the like button, share with friends, and spread the message. Our only mission is to bring you the truth and both sides of the story. Thank you for your support. Before I'm just waiting for Deepti to join us. So meanwhile, I'll just give you a little bit of update on some of the news. Apparently, Shahrukh Khan and his wife are trying to hide from public eye. That's what has been reported by these people. Even at the Baba Siddiqui iftar party, he tried to avoid the cameras, but it was Baba Siddiqui who pushed him in front of the cameramen. And this was something that his fans did not like. And also, at the private airport where they were supposed to fly, Shah Rukh Khan and his wife Gauri had his guards cover them with an umbrella as they were avoiding getting clicked. So this, I see this all as a result of what has happened because of the Aryan Khan arrest. They cannot face the world. Too many things have happened. Even the key witness has died. And that itself shows there's so much of hanky panky going on behind the scenes. Let me just add Deepti. Deepti is just. Welcome, Deepti.
Hello, Minaji. How are you?
You're fine. Yeah. So I was just, before you joined, I was just reading a little bit of the news. So I'll just add to it. So what I was telling the viewers is that Shah Rukh Khan and his wife are just, very trying their best to keep away from cameras because, even when they were at the private airport, they did not want the shutterbugs to, cover them. So they had their guards covering them. So this is all, of course, a result. Even in the Baba Siddiqui iftar party, Shahrukh was avoiding the cameras, and it was Baba Siddiqui who actually pushed him, into the cameraman's eyes, now lens rather. And so it's very obvious that after the Aryan Khan arrest and the whole thing about the drug scene, both the father and the mother are very, very reluctant to be seen in the public eye. If only they had taught their children, that they should say no to drugs. None of this would have ever happened. But then that is not the case in what's happening in Bollywood. Meanwhile, in the Ranbir and Alia marriage case, not that anybody was interested because everybody was on the boycott Bollywood mood. Now, look at the Bollywood, PR headlines. You would believe that Ranbir is returning from a war, like a war hero. So they say Ranbir returns to work 2 days after the wedding, and Neetu also gets back to work after the wedding. It would seem like, it's such a supreme sacrifice that they have made, as if they have returned from war. Apparently, Bollywood PR media is going absolutely, crazy because they sound hilarious. First of all, this guy has no film in hand, okay, and they're all, running behind the southern superstars, for some crumbs that they can get. And on top of that, the person who was most suspicious, during the terrorist attack, Rahul Bhatt, that is Pooja Bhatt's brother, recently commented that the Pandit, who was a regular at the Kapoor's ceremonies, insisted on Ranbir and Alia doing 4 fairas instead of 7. Now, I don't understand why they insist on all the traditional fanfare because see, first of all, I never saw Alia wear a bindi, okay, which is a traditional thing that a Hindu bride wears. She's a Muslim. It's obvious, okay, and all these fairas and these things, who is interested? They've been living together for the last 5 years as a couple. So there is absolutely no secrecy in the relationship. What are they trying to show? It's everything in reverse. See, you have a kid, you get you're married, and you live together, and then in the end, you want to show the people that you're married and you're a coy bride, and a very handsome bridegroom. No, you guys are getting old, and people are not interested in you. And on top of that, see now, Gangubai, which failed to recover its 180 crore budget, and flopped heavily at box office, now has been given to OTP. Bollywood, the predictions were that Sanjay Leela Bhansali's movie, this is his biggest flop movie since Zavariya. Now, this is Alia's third back-to-back flop after Kalank and Sadak. Alia PR and fans were blaming COVID for the low collections, but Kashmir Files collection shows that was not an excuse. So they tried everything to, disguise the fact that see their films are flopping mainly because they cannot act for nuts, and they are just because they are children of, known people or celebrities, and that's why they even get a role. And another piece of news I wanted to tell you was it's quite interesting. It's from the Telegraph. The Union Minister for Women and Child Development, Smriti Irani, is reportedly seeking the help of a PR firm to rebrand her image as a thought leader, akin to the late Bharatiya Janata Party leader Sushma Swaraj. This is something that I already tweeted. She was dressing her like her, wearing the same long sort of blouse like her, and wearing thick specs to look like her, and trying to act as an intellectual. Now, Irani hopes to fill the vacuum left by Swaraj, who was known as an approachable and articulate statesperson. Seen as a firebrand leader, Irani defeated the Congress leader Rahul Gandhi in the party's pocket borough of Amethi in 2019. However, controversies such as the combative utterances after Rohit Vemula's suicide and the JNU row of 2016 have defined her image. Now, what's more important is that Sushma Swaraj was a statesman and she was an intellectual one. Okay, nobody needed to educate her on how to behave. Here, this is not the case. It is more of a PR minister who is always looking for selfies and how to push herself, into the public eye. Even the incident in the aeroplane where a congresswoman accosted her, and asked her about why prices are rising. Even that was used for maximum PR. And then her relationship with Ekta Kapoor. If you look at her Instagram posts, you will see that the most likes she gets are from people like Sonu Sood, who is from Up. And then you have also people like Mouni Roy and Ekta Kapoor. So wouldn't it mean this hypocrisy? You're trying to fight and give justice, a government that is fighting for justice for Sushant Singh Rajput, Jia Khan, Janvi, and so many people, Disha Salian and all that. How come they are having such close relationship with people who are an important part of the cabal? And these women, for example, Ekta Kapoor has got so many FIRs against her. Who has helped her get out of all of it? So isn't this double standards? I mean, you talk about cleaning the system. When all these people are a part of the system, how can it ever be clean? Yes.
Means it's not just Ekta Kapoor or someone, but even everyone in Bollywood is being protected. I don't know for what is the, what do you say? वो मजबूरी क्या है? Yeah, what is that compulsion that the agencies are not acting on the Bollywood people when everyone is openly coming out and saying things against them, against their atrocities, against the crimes that they are indulging in. Okay, I do understand that Sushant's case, many ministers are involved, and some top ministers of the state are involved in his murder, and maybe there are some dynamics which are not allowing them to. Okay, at least they can, what do you say? They should have taken action in other cases, like in Salman Khan's case. He is also a, what do you say? He has incidents of domestic violence. He has hit not only his co-stars, but he has hit his female co-stars as well. So, I mean, there are many cases of his having brawl in the public, but these people just get away easily. Why them? Recently, we have had Raj Kundra. What happened? Just, questioning for namesake. What is the end result of it? Is he on bail forever? Or now I will ask this question: was that arrest only to fill the news headlines and keep us diverted from other issue? These are the doubts which come to our mind if no arrest or no raid ever reaches to any conclusion.
Yeah.
And Miraji, one more thing. Till now, whatever was there in the slides, as we are going ahead, some secrets or some truths or whatever investigation Sushant has done about the people in the ruling party is also being told. But I want to assure people one thing, that these slides are not edited or these slides have not been inserted. Though I myself have told there have been attempts. I also want to make it clear, though there are many attempts, there are hundreds of attempts, but in 2 digits. There are a lot of attempts in a day to attack the drives. But till now, they have not been successful in inserting any slide. They were initially successful in editing some, but we could find out in time, and I came back with that. And let me tell you, not only this drive, it's not like a book that just when the credentials are verified that they belong to Sushant, anyone can change the slides. Each and every slide of his is encrypted. Each of every slide of his can be proved whether it was manipulated or it was originally written by Sushant. So,
Yeah.
so
This
yeah,
is good, Deepti, because we've been getting a lot of queries about how authentic the diary is and whether somebody else is writing the diary. And it's very important that you clarify all this so that our regular viewers are not in doubt about what's happening.
yes. And if you people are just doubting the authenticity of the drives because it is going against the belief system, then we are doing the same mistake which we did in the past. Like when Congress was in power, no one used to speak against it. Everyone was like, yeah, oh, Rajiv Gandhi is such a good leader. Oh, Indira Gandhi is such a good leader. They are doing so much for the country, this and that. It's only later, after many years, that the truths are coming out. Okay. So are we doing the same mistake? Let the people's actions define what they are and not blind belief or faith or following of anyone. This is what I want you to say. Truth cannot be selective. Truth cannot be selective. Okay. And if some truths are coming out and if still the authority is silent, see, here we have many doubts. Though the case has been transferred to CBI, it's a central agency. Okay. No progress has happened. The CBI has not even collected the crucial evidence like these drives which belong to Sushant, in which he has clearly mentioned the names of the people who will be responsible if he gets killed. Such a crucial evidence also CBI is not taking it. Okay. Though I managed to submit an application and I also managed to get an acknowledgement for the same. And I also got a call from SI Anil Yadav from CBI. But nothing moved forward. They haven't come forward. They haven't given me an appointment to validate the drives yet. So all these actions raise a big question mark on the center as well. Okay. And I can only say from my point of view, I'm not saying that whatever Sushant has written is gospel truth. But if he has been killed, and if we are seeing the actions this way, no interest from anyone to solve this case, then that means he has hit the nail on the head. These are not my findings. These are what Sushant. And if he's been killed for it, and if neither the center nor the state, no one is taking interest in his case, and even the mainstream media, then we should actually ask questions to our belief system. That is what I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, Minaji, I will start
Please.
From where I left. Yeah. Remember, this is our fight. We are doing it for a better tomorrow. No one is a leader here. You are not following anyone in this mission. Neither is anyone following you. We mutually are together on the same boat. The reason I am repeating these lines over and over and over again is because our weakness is their strength. Our limitations are their weapons. These people very well know that the common man is stuck in his own web of work pressure, family responsibilities, and other packages that come with it. So he won't stand for common good. The public can be played with as they go with what they see. The only thing we need to now practice is not to go with what we see, with our naked eyes. We need to ensure that we are up there trying to see through things. There are a lot of things that we need to see the way they deserve to be seen. And this is one change which we all have to bring in ourselves. We need to have our priorities right. Stop following the people blindly. Vote. If you do not like the candidate, vote NOTA. But vote. I have explained how they play the dirty game in the past. Interact with people in your locality. Know your neighbors well. This is needed because if anything goes wrong in the neighborhood or there is some emergency in the family, your neighbors can help. And this can be a major plus to keep crime rate in check. So let's all put this honest effort to know our neighbors well and start interacting with them on a regular basis. We need to stand for ourselves. No one will. And if you think anyone will ever stand for you, then you will go nowhere. Yes, there are some people who start the journey with you and have always been loyal to you. Leaving these people aside, if you presume that the government, the police, the establishment, or government officials, if you ever depend on these people, you will fall flat on your face. The bottom line truth in most of the situations here is that these people get to the powerful seats by paying money for that position. And that money obviously is recovered from the underworld operating in that area and in the form of bribes. If you do not want to believe me, do this small exercise yourself. Go to any police station nearby, catch the driver or any low level police officer in the station, get a little friendly to him, then ask him what is the cost to be paid for getting posted as inspector in this station. The person will give you the entire rate chart. This happens in every city, every area of our country, not just the police, this happens in every department. When the person who has come to do public duty is on that seat because he paid a bribe to someone, how can you expect him to be honest? Or rather, let me use the word clean. Because indeed, there are some people who come by merit, but if you find that the person who is come into that position just to do a small, just do a small background check on him and take a look at his properties, you will find that he is richer than the richest businessman in your city. But the one thing that always has its style of payback is God's justice. These people who are corrupt never have a happy family life. Either they are disease prone or their kids would be suffering from one or the other form of incurable disease. My only question to God would be, why should the innocent kids suffer for the mistake which they never did? What is the logic behind this? Though I did not find sense in it, one answer which one powerful Babaji gave me when I was in Kedarnath made me realize that sometimes the hit is so strong that you cannot even digest it. The Babaji, within brackets saint, started. Before I give you the logic behind this, let me ask you a few questions. I said, indeed, please do. When any animal gives birth to a newborn, and if you happen to be in the vicinity and come in the closer circle of the newborn, what will that animal do? Obviously, it will snap, right? I said. Good, said the Babaji. Now, if you see a mother and child walking on the street, and if the child falls down and gets hurt, who will be more hurt according to you, the child or the mother? I said the physical injury would be to the child, but the mom too would be mentally stressed out and would be in tension till the child would nurse back to health. Perfect, said the Babaji. Now, these corrupt people, when they do something wrong, who is affected? The people who take the bribe or the people who pay the bribe? The pain and the suffering they have to go through to get their work done because these people cannot see or feel it, it is God's way to make them go through the same pain. The reason they have visited the official is to do with something for someone else, right? That is why the payback too happens in the same way. I was a little confused. The Babaji then told me one line which changed my entire perspective of seeing things, changed drastically, and I began to realize that this could possibly be another angle to the reality. The Baba said, Karmanye Vadika Raste, Ma Felesu Kadachna. Why did Lord Krishna in the Gita say this? He said this because it's your job to do your duty, and based on what you do, the virtues and vices of your actions, they will eventually be paid back to you. And the impact of that, when it comes back from there, pointing his fingers to the skies, would be much, much more intense, and you would not be able to take it. So, watch out what you do and ask yourself these questions before you want to do anything. This is the secret to having a satisfied life, said the Babaji. The Babaji's questions were so good that I felt these are the questions that everyone in the society should answer. What is your purpose of life? Whom are you trying to impress? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? Whose company do you enjoy? In whose company do you not feel yourself? What pains you the most? What is your definition of success? What is your definition of failure? What is your definition of popularity? Prasiddhi was the Hindi word he used. What is your definition of worship? What is your definition of prayer? Puja kya hai? Bhakti kya hai? Who, according to you, is the ideal human being? The one who has kept his family happy? The one who has not done anything wrong to anyone? The one who always lived his life for others? Or the one who had first made sure he was content, then thought about others? The final question the Babaji asked me put me in huge confusion. But as I have promised myself, I am going to write everything down that happens to me or around me. I shall write down that question to here, and then let me give you the answers the Babaji gave for the question: who, according to you, is the ideal human being? And the answer to the controversial question the Babaji asked is Ramchandraji, Lord Ram, Maryada Purushottam, the perfect man. According to you? If yes, why? If no, why not? What do I answer or what not to answer? I was in total confusion. The Babaji said, no doubt, Ramji is Maryada Purushottam. Yes, but what use is that Maryada when you leave your wife into the jungles believing the words of someone else, and that too at a time when she was pregnant? I said, but sir, within brackets, Guruji, there is a story in the scriptures that Sita had gotten a curse on her, and that's why all this happened. The Babaji said, I very well know about the curse, but the reason I asked you this question is to make you get the point as to how to judge people. I will type the exact words in Hindi first and then do the translation in English, because sometimes we do miss out on important words, and if we do that, it will change the entire narrative. Let me type out the Hindi version first and then will give it my best shot to translate the same to English. राजा रामचंद्र अत्युत्तम थे, पर सीता रामचंद्र नहीं. इसका क्या मतलब? इसका ये मतलब नहीं कि वो मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम नहीं थे. इसका ये मतलब है कि राम अवतार में भगवान विष्णु जी मानवीयता को सबसे बहुमूल्य सबक दिया था कि अगर रिश्ता करना है तो शक की कोई गुंजाइश नहीं होती, और जहाँ शक होता है वहाँ रिश्ते हमेशा टूट जाते हैं. इंसान अक्सर अपने आप को ही सर्वोच्च समझ बैठता है. वहाँ उससे गलती हो जाती है. दूसरों की गलतियों पे उंगली उठाना अक्सर आसान है. बिना वो काम किए या उन हालातों से गुजरे ये कहना बहुत आसान है कि अगर उस जगह पे मैं होता या वो काम मैं करता तो मैं ऐसी गलती कभी नहीं करता. हर काम को करने के सिर्फ दो तरीके होते हैं. पहला, वो तरीका जो सही तरीका है. दूसरा, वो तरीका जो गलत तरीका है. पर इंसान ये नहीं समझ पाता. इंसान का सबसे बड़ा श्राप ये है कि वो अपनी गलतियां देख नहीं पाता और दूसरों की गलतियां माफ़ नहीं कर पाता. ये जरूरी नहीं कि हर गलती माफ़ करे, पर यह बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम इस बात को समझें कि क्या वो इंसान हमारे जीवन में कुछ है। राम जी ने भी गलतियां की और उनको भी उसका अंजाम भुगतना पड़ा। इंसान को यह समझ लेना बहुत बहुत अनिवार्य है कि उसके कर्म उसकी पूंजी है, और कर्म फल जब मिलता है तो कोई भेदभाव नहीं करता। कुछ भी करने से पहले ये सोच लो, एक इंसान एक क्षण का
Deepti,
या
I just wanted to ask you, is this in Hindi, this portion?
yeah, he has written it in Hindi, and he
Hindi,
said that he
okay.
will, yeah, he has written it in Hindi, I mean in English only. He has mentioned
Yeah.
what
Okay,
Babaji told him, and then he will
fine.
translate in English, it is what
Okay,
told.
okay,
Okay, these are Babaji's words.
okay.
There was a, yeah, उसके कर्म उसकी पूंजी है और कर्म फल जब मिलता है तो कोई भेदभाव नहीं करता। कुछ भी करने से पहले ये सोच लो, एक क्षण का विलंब लेके, कि इसका परिणाम क्या होगा, और अगर घातक सिद्ध हुआ तो क्या मैं इसको झेल पाऊंगा। जिंदगी खुशी और आनंद से भर जाएगी। राम जी मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम ही हैं, पर अक्सर कुछ लोग अन्य जाति के इस मुद्दे को उठाते हैं कि उन्होंने सीता माँ को क्यों त्याग दिया। यह अलग बात है कि हम जाति परजाति में विश्वास नहीं रखते, पर कुछ स्पष्टीकरण नहीं होता, और अगर आपके लिए यही बेहतर होगा कि आप इन चीज़ों में अपना समय बर्बाद ना करें। To the best of my knowledge, this means Ram was a very good king, but he failed as a husband. This incident that occurred in Ram's life doesn't say that he was a bad husband, but through this birth of Lord Vishnu gave a very important lesson to humanity. Through this birth, Lord Vishnu passed on the message that there should be no doubts or suspicion in any relationship. If there is doubt or suspicion, the relationship often ends on the wrong note. The biggest mistake which man does is he thinks himself to be the most superior among the others. It is very easy to point out fingers on others, on another's mistake, but it is very difficult to find faults in yourself. Unless you have lived through the person's journey, unless you have faced the situations the person did, unless you have taken the pain that was undertaken during the path that was chosen, you can easily say that if I would have done that job, it would be a very easy job for me. Practical difficulties only come when you face the issues by yourself. So, if you have a feeling that you can do the work and not be stupid enough to make these mistakes only by listening to them without practically experiencing them, then you are wrong. You are totally wrong, because there are only two ways to do anything: one, the right way; two, the wrong way. And the biggest curse that humans have on them is that they cannot see their own mistakes and they cannot forgive the mistakes made by others. It is not that every mistake has to be forgiven, but it becomes very important that is the person important in your life. Ram also did mistakes, and he was not spared from the consequences of his mistakes. It is mandatory for every human being to understand that his deeds are his investments, and he has to be very careful while he is doing anything, be it virtue or vice. It is very, very important that person understand that his deeds are what are going to give him the results sooner or later in his life. And when the divine rules out his judgment, he will not discriminate or give you less. You will get your due fully, and there is no scope for compromise. Before doing anything, it is very important that you take a small step back on your decision and think where this decision is going to land you into and how dire could be the consequences of it. Are you ready for it? If you ask this question to yourself before you take up any work, then your life would be filled with peace and happiness. Ram, no doubt, was the ideal man amongst men. But sometimes what happens is some people who do not follow Hinduism come up with this question to make a mockery of our religion. And though for me all the religions are same and there is no difference in which faith people practice out there in your society, our religion is being propagated in the wrong way. And these are the answers to those questions which the people with biased interests have and are trying to fool innocents in the process. As there are some such truths in the universe which we should not dig deeper into unless you have a clean mind, heart, and soul. You trying to go deeper into this subject might be complete waste of time. This was the best I could translate that wise man's words into, and I am sorry if I have made a mess out of it. I have given out the original speech of the wise man in the exact words as they were spoken out to me, and if you have a better translation to it, you can do it to suit your understanding. Now, coming back to the question, who according to you is the ideal man? The Babaji said, the person who has satisfied himself first, his mind and body and his thoughts are at peace, and then he thinks about others, is the right ideal person. And this is a very tough choice to make because man doesn't have a limit to his thoughts and his wishes and needs. But the man who can balance this and then make sure he performs all his responsibilities and then gives time to others is the right ideal man, said the Babaji. The Babaji, before taking leave from me, told me three things. These questions will help you always be on the right path. When you are in a fix and when there is a fight between your mind and heart, listen to your heart and follow your mind while at work. Listen to the mind and follow your heart while at home. When you are lost and have no answers, close your eyes, stop all your thoughts, focus only on your breathe in and breathe out. Do this for like 30 seconds, then ask your own conscience what you should be doing. The answer that you get will be the best one. If you have a choice to make between what is wrong and what is right, don't follow the numbers. Don't be quick to judge. Don't just blurt out. Wait, see, analyze, understand, and then take a decision. Remember this forever. Think 10,000 times before you take a decision. But once you have taken the decision, then there is no looking back. It is either you do it fully or do not do anything at all. Follow this sun, and your life will be beautiful. You will be surrounded with positive people, and you will always be content and satisfied. Getting back to the topic on hand, the person continued after the talk on phone with this person, which Asif Bhai feels is NN Vora. Mahajanji called a few other people that day, and then he told me to inform dash dash dash. The man took the name, but again, I do not want to reveal the name out and create problems for this person to come and meet him the next day as he had to discuss something in regards to what his plans were. It was late in the night, we had dinner and slept. The next morning, Mahajanji woke me up around 7 a.m. and told me to go and get dash 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 G from his house. I followed his orders. The meeting with this man went for around 4 hours, and at the end of the meeting, Mahajanji gave me one huge file with 3,000 papers and asked me to get a photocopy of this. We interrupted. Where are those papers now? Sir, said the person, my job was to go get the photocopies. I got the photocopy and handed it over to Mahajanji. What happened after that, I do not have much of an idea. But Mahajanji was planning something big and was preparing on the same grounds too. The biggest plus for Mahajanji was he was having some back support and was constantly in touch with some top medical professionals too. I was not sure what was happening. Mahajanji told me not to spoil my head in all this and relax. This is a part and parcel of his day-to-day life. But one thing I got to understand with Mahajanji's body language was that he was into something big and deep. And as I had told you earlier, if Mahajanji would be alive for one more week, a lot of facts would come out. When the photocopy of the papers were taken, Mahajanji had Vohra committee reports in them. He also had some papers with respect to some misdeeds happening in coal mines. He had some letters which were exchanged during his tenure as a minister. He had one bond paper too signed in Australia. There were some government documents, I am not sure what they were. There were some medical and autopsy reports. There were some reports which had the ISRO logo on them. And on top of the letter, it was written confidential. So I did not have the courage to read out what was in the letter. This report from the ISRO itself was of around 200 plus pages, and every page had confidential written on it. There was one report which was from the Environment Ministry of France, and there were a lot more papers in it, which I did not read. But yes, the papers that I was asked to take a photocopy of had huge information in them. The next few days were silent. But then one day, Mahajanji just called me at an odd hour in the night and said, "Prepare for travel. We have to go to Gujarat. I will tell you everything on the way. Make sure you do not tell about this to anyone and make sure that you have planned your travel well. You are now going to stay in Gujarat for some time." I never had got a call from Mahajanji that late in the night. But then I did not have a family back then. I was single, so it was okay. I agreed to Mahajanji, who told me to be ready by 7 a.m. the next day. We interrupted, though foolish it might sound, but the time 7 a.m. was repeating for the second time. I just wanted to check for myself if the person who is giving us information out is a wolf in the skin of sheep. 7 a.m.? What is the connection with this 7 a.m.? I asked. The person had a smile on his face and said, "Mahajanji always used to joke. 7 is a very funny number. 7 wonders in the world. 7 is considered the most perfect number. 7 has prominence in all religions. 7 hills to Tirumala. According to Bible, creation happened in 6 days. Seventh day, God rested. The person who I am speaking to said this to me, and I can find sense in it. However, this point is for myself, and if anything happens to me, and if someone else is reading this, kindly make sure you think for at least 100 times before you bring this out. The people who are giving us information on all that happened need to be kept safe, as it would be our responsibility to keep these people safe. The person is opening out in front of me. That means he trusts me. He wants a change and is putting an effort towards getting it. This needs to be respected, and for no reason on earth we should compromise on the safety of someone who trusted us and stood with us or helped us out with anything, no matter however small it is, because this trust is what makes you or what can break you. Getting back to the person's words. The next morning, Mahajanji called me, said that he has to put the plan on hold for some time as he has to go meet Vajpayee ji on something important. And this meeting is very, very important. I just said okay, but was confused. Why this sudden change? Mahajanji came back in the evening and was looking disturbed and confused. When I tried to confront him, he said, "Just do what you are told to do. Do not sit on my head or cross question me." This behavior of Mahajanji I never came across until that day. But my heart told me something really disturbing must have happened. Sometime later, Mahajanji called me to his room and said, "Do not take such things to heart. I was very, very disturbed back then, and I was just wanting some time off. I have hurt you with my words. I'm sorry. I did not know what to react or answer. Just said, 'It's all right, sir.'" I interrupted the person right away. "Did Mahajanji tell you anything about what happened in that meeting?" "No, sir, he didn't. But he just told me one thing. Soon the time will come when all the people who think they are the godfathers of the society will fall flat on their faces. Let me just get my reports right and do my homework. I will make sure the people who scripted my downfall will rot in hell. I wanted to correct my mistakes. Was I wrong? Need is fine sometimes. A little bit of greed too is fine. But wanting everything for yourself without even giving a thought to what would the adverse effects of this be is utter foolishness. And I do not like this. I too was greedy and had my share of the income too. But I was not like this. These people want to eat up everything. I will make sure all these people will be given the treatment they deserve. And also, I will need honest and true people with me to accomplish this. If you need anything, ask me on my face. Just because someone else is giving you a little more or offering you something which you want, do not backstab me. I was confused why Mahajanji told me this, but then realized that the situation he was in, the words that came out from his mouth were right, and I had to understand the scenarios that he was going through. The person continued. There was no much activity after this for some time, but one day, suddenly Mahajan called me and said, "We are leaving to Gujarat," as he wanted to meet KG Shah. KG Shah, and there was something very important which he wanted to discuss with KG Shah and also study some important things about what exactly happened in Godra, as this too sounded something which was not what it looked to the naked eye, said Mahajan. I tried to ask him, "Sir, are you not pulling up more and more controversies on you?" To which Mahajan said that Supreme Court Justice Nanavati was a very close friend to him and he wanted to know the exact findings of what had happened around the Godra issue. And when he was having a word with Nanavati on this, Nanavati said that it would be best if you have a word with Shah, not to be confused for Amit Shah. It is KG Shah. Mahajanji went on and said, dash, 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 dash. Don't think too much about all this. I was to do this some time back, but then I was told not to. And I too took a small break from it, but not anymore. I have to know what had happened there, as that holds key to a lot of questions which people have asked me, and what questions I have in my mind too. Do I tell you all that we discussed? It can be a little boring, said the person here. Asif Bhai, who was with me here, just said, "Tell us everything. Nothing is boring when you are speaking the truth, as truth itself is is this lame in the society today that in order to prove what you are saying is true, you will need evidences for it. You please continue." The person had a smile on his face to these words, and then he said, whenever Mahajanji used to go for travel, he used to make sure he would make notes of the discussions he was supposed to have. And that day too, he made me write some points down. That's how I can tell you what exactly Mahajanji wanted to do. There was a tiff in Ayodhya between VHP and RSS. What was the exact thing that happened in Ayodhya? You came through different mode of transport when you were to board the train. Why did you come otherwise? Why was it that six of you people who were together at Ayodhya chose different routes on your return? There was one person who was basically from Varanasi. What is he doing in Gujarat? Now, why is it that the person who was supposed to go back to Varanasi is still here in Gujarat? I interrupted and told the person, I'm getting a little confused here. What is it exactly that you are trying to say? The person said, Sir, when we planned to go to Gujarat, Mahajanji said we are going to take 3 stops. I am giving this out on paper just to ensure that if I am not coming on the trip with you and you have to go alone, you have the idea what you are supposed to do. Because I am very much sure that if I take up the journey, I might be asked to do something else. This issue that is on hand is also important, and if they apply brakes on my feet, I want you to go ahead with this in this way. You will go on this alone and do as I have told you. We need to reach the bottom of this, and then I will show these people what happens when you think you are the only one who is above all the laws of nature. इस काम को निपटा के आओ, तब हम इन लोगों को बताएंगे कि प्रकृति के नियम सबके लिए एक ही हैं, कोई इसके साथ छेड़खानी नहीं कर सकता. These are the exact words the person used. I translated it to the best of my knowledge, but if my translation means otherwise, then I'm not sure, so I have typed down the exact words. Taking a break from the person's words, Asif Bhai interrupted and said, "What is this person trying to say? Was there much more to the incident that happened in Godhra? And was it another political controversy that took shape in the form of the train accident? I have some sources in Gujarat, and whenever I used to speak to them, they were of the opinion that the train accident was a highly questionable incident. And to confirm more on their doubts, the death of KG Shah, the person whose name this person is taking, was dead just hours before the commission was to submit its report." I got confused here and asked Asif Bhai, "What are you trying to say?" Asif Bhai said, "See, to the best of my knowledge, this person, KG Shah, the judge, was alone. And it was a Parveen Bhabi kind of scenario for him too. According to the police reports, he was alone in his flat when he passed away. I think we need to work on this and get a little deeper into it, and then conclude on what exactly is the scene. When this person is speaking like this, I personally feel there is a lot more that is connected to this incident than what was shown. And we have to get down to each and every minute detail here and then conclude on this. Be very careful here and make sure that we collect as much info as possible on this. Then let's see how we can take this forward and also try and find out what were the exact things that happened around this time. I strongly feel we need to get to the roots of this and then decide what we should be doing with this and how do we conclude." I agreed to it and requested Asif Bhai to try and do some investigations around this, gather as much information as possible, and then let's all sit together and decide what we should be doing with all these informations at our disposal, as I was very sure that media will not help us in any which way whatsoever. If there is something controversial that turns up, then we have to be very careful, because there would be a lot of crows let loose on us who will go to any extent to show us in bad light. We might have to do this all alone with our expenses. We for sure will have a whole new bunch of enemies added to our list, and some friends too who would come close to you just to understand what is the strategy that we are going to apply. There would be every possible attempt under the sun made to suppress us down. Some of us can be silenced forever. My resolve and trust on truth multiplied 100 times today when I got to hear about this. And I can now for sure say that if the right things come out in the right way, a lot more of such incidents will come to light. Then it is up to us to decide what do we want to do with this. The society is our home and it is a reflection of what we are. If we do not have the spine to stand against the wrong and make some noise around it, then the same would be condition of the society we live in. But yes, if we can, then we can actually ensure that we can script our own future. This is not the kind of atmosphere we should be living in. And based on this, till now, whatever I have heard, if worst of my fears are true, then the entire country probably is in for the biggest shock of the century. And God alone knows what the reaction would be to these statements if the answers were found. And if the answers were not found, it becomes our moral responsibility to ensure that we have the answers. Asif Bhai just told me one thing. See, for now, keep the things to yourself. I will find some time out and connect to Nahar and keep him informed about this. But you ensure that you are watchful and alert. This should stay only between the four of us, including the person who is narrating all this to us. Let's get going with this without making much noise. because this issue is very, very sensitive. Also, we need to ensure that if we want these infos to make the right impact, then we should ensure that we have all the angles covered. We have to make sure that we have all this streamlined and put it out in the most simple way everyone can understand. Getting back to the person's words, Mahajanji then explained to me the importance of these questions. He said, the reason I want you to ask these questions to these people is because, according to what I got to know, there was a huge fight that happened with the time and date some function was supposed to be conducted. This function was related to Sri Ram Navami, and both the groups had different ideas to do this. The person said there were two main groups that were present during that time. One was Vishwa Hindu Parishad, another was RSS. Though RSS was actively involved in all the activities, they never made their presence felt in the media as they would have. And this happened because of just one person. He is none other than Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I got confused here and asked, what is the connection of RSS here? Do you have any much idea? The person humbly requested me, wait for a while, sir, let me finish. I cannot continuously talk, right? Let me breathe for a moment or two in between. I just giggled it out. Indeed, yes, my curiosity was so high that day that just with 1 minute pause, I was jumping in. Asif Bhai too poked me with his elbow and told me to keep quiet and let him finish. Asif Bhai poked his elbow to me and put his index finger on his mouth and told me to keep quiet. The person continued. The exact master plan was made by the following trio. Murli Manohar Joshi was given the responsibility to ensure that all Hindu organizations like VHP, RSS, ABKHMS, Akhil Bharat Hindu Mahasabha were kept united, and none of them took the center stage and wanted everything for themselves. Lal Krishna Advani. He was given the responsibility to make sure that the rallies went smooth, and during the rally, there was no clash between the RSS and ABKHMS. Even before I could ask the person something, the person was like, Sir, 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 hold on. I'm telling you, I'm telling you. Asif Bhai literally fell off his chair laughing, and I was embarrassed witnessing that scene. The person continued. While my mind kept me asking me questions, still I was silent. Back then, at this time, the leaders of both the parties had some personal scores to settle within themselves. As we all know, Godse was the subject of these clashes. But everyone were together. The reason Advani was given this charge is because the High Command for sure knew that the Hindu Mahasabha people would bring in Godse's name, and that could trigger a controversy. Many of us know how influenced Advaniji is with Hindu organizations, and back then he was at his peak. So he was given this charge to ensure that the rallies went smoothly. Uma Bharti was given the charge to give a very powerful speech to motivate people. Here comes the biggest controversy of them all. And this is one person whom Mahajanji met in person. The name of this person is Maloi Krishna Dhar, the, the IB head, the Intelligence Bureau head back then. He clearly had made a public statement that whatever happened in Ayodhya was not a mob outrage, but a pre planned, well constructed idea that was put into action on that day. The evidences and other facts around this were carefully manipulated so that no one ever could have any doubt on this being the possibility. But this was what had happened, and I did not get much support from the Prime Minister or the other ministers back then, as I was told on my face that here comes the golden egg laying goose. So just shut up, whether controversy or no. Rather, whether it was pre-planned incident or a mob outrage. This was the word I should have used and not controversy. We have the biggest election weapon now in our hands, so just keep your mouth shut, was what was told to me. We rounded off on a total of 150 people, out of which the commission that was chosen to do the audit finalized on only 68 people. Amongst them, the top names that did most of the damage were Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Lal Krishna Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi, Uma Bharati, Bhagwant Prasad Shukla, a prominent HMS leader, Vijay Rajesh Scindia, Kalyan Singh, Khushbu Thakre, Bangaru Lakshman, Lalji Tandon, Rajesh Mishra, within brackets in collaboration with Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Chetan Singh, Chandrasekhar Pandit, within bracket Gorakhpur. These were some of the top names that were involved. The biggest thing that was the whole stand out here, and we all should understand and try to get accustomed with, is that Rajesh Mishra joined BJP in 1991. He was on a top position with the United Nations before this. He joined BJP as the head of its foreign policy cell. This is the same foreign policy cell that arranges for events outside India. And the events for Modi ji in Madison Square and other places were arranged by this very cell. This is the same foreign dash 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 very cell. These are my words in between. This is the same foreign cell, are my words in between, is what Sushant is saying, Minaji. There's a confusion here. Till now, he was giving the account of what that person was saying. And in the end, he added the events for Modi ji in Madison Square and other places were arranged by this very cell. And he writes within brackets that these words are his. Okay. The person went on, in continuation to this, there were so many other connected incidents that show that this was planned much in advance and was not a sudden mob outrage. The incidents that are to be noted here are: the police fled the scene. There was no backup or reserve forces called, though it was in a matter of minutes that the entire structure fell. This could have very easily been managed if the planning was right. Just imagine, there is a stink of something big happening in store. We had our reports submitted too. Still, only one battalion of police, despite the reports, giving clear instructions to deploy one unit of forces with reserve forces as backup. But still, this was not followed. The reports we got and what actually happened on ground was contrast, and the real picture stood hidden from everyone till the exact day came. The biggest contradiction here was that the then head of the police in UP was very, very close and very trusted associate of Rajesh Mishra. And this was what I feel could be the reason for all that taking place, what took place. Mahajanji, with help from others, had prepared a strong report on these incidents and had spoken to a lot of people during this time. That's when he got a call from an unknown number. We couldn't trace the source, but we could actually find out that this number belonged to Madhya Pradesh. The call ended within 26 seconds, so we couldn't do much about it as we had no much data to trace back. Minaji, for now I will stop here because the next few slides he has given information about various, the various methods used to scam people online using their phones and all that. Okay, so I didn't want to start that here, that he has written some pages on it. So next session will be useful for people if they want to know how not to get trapped into cyber crimes. So he has given this
Also,
information for the
yeah. One of the questions they've asked is, who is this Baba that he met?
Who?
Who is this Babaji that he met?
I don't know. In Kedarnath, some I don't know who is this Babaji. In Kedarnath, some saint he must have met. And all these words are not told by Babaji. Pramod Mahajan's story is different.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting back to the topic on hand, he comes back to the person who was associated with Mahajanji, who was telling him all this. But
Yes.
Babaji, that incident about Babaji, he met in
It's
Kedarnath while
different.
shooting. Yeah, that is different. He had some confusions, and Babaji gave some answers, spiritual answers, which he actually told. That is different. But
So
uh,
apparently, Pramod Mahajan was a very dynamic guy who was about
yeah,
to expose a lot of things.
he was a very dynamic leader. We all know that he was a very dynamic person, but yeah, I mean, it is a shock because we thought that it was some sibling rivalry, and his
No, it was a murder.
brother,
Yeah,
yeah, and his brother killed him. But then what raises doubts is that his brother too committed suicide after few
yeah,
months
yeah.
of getting jailed. So no one thought much about it then, but then yeah, with all this
And he
coming
was
out,
also the fact that he was prime minister material as well.
of course, he would have been the prime minister if he had been alive now. He would have been I mean, it's the spirit of BJP. In fact,
Yes.
he was a dynamic young leader. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So everybody thanking you, Deepti ji. Great reading. You're doing a great job. So it's really thank you once again, Deepti, for bringing this forward and also clarifying certain doubts that the people have with regards to the diary.
yes, I just want to say one thing that it's not just that once you open the drives, then only the credentials can be verified. No, each and every slide can be verified if it was written by Sushant or if it was manipulated later on, if it was edited later on, it can be verified. That
Yeah.
is the
Also,
advantage of digital,
yeah.
yeah, data.
Also, the fact that see, if these are not true, then the sisters have every right to challenge it. They have not
Of
challenged
course,
it. Yeah.
yes.
So all these things come into it.
So
Thank you so much, Deepti. Yeah.
yeah, thank you,
So
Minaji.
we'll see you next week. Yeah.
Yes, sure, sure. I just wanted to tell one thing, Minaji. One thing. This is for the people. I wanted to stop there and tell, but
What did you want to say?
yeah, about that police station thing. Because my friends also see I have a big group of friends who belong to NCC because I am an NCC certificate holder, and so a lot of my friends wanted to get into police as well who didn't make it to the army. Okay, I also heard these stories. Okay, one of them comes, I know I will get a posting there. Why? Well, if I have to get a posting in the city, then I have to pay 3 lakhs. That was back then. I said, what is this? Want to be police and you want to pay a bribe. You don't know about how things happen. Otherwise, we will be posted in some remote place. If you want a posting of our choice, we have to pay this. So it just reminded me of that. So I wanted to tell this
Yeah.
there and then.
Mumbai,
But
Mumbai is so famous for that. If this guy Trimukhe does not move from Bandra, he's been stationed permanently in Bandra. What sort of people they are? They're up to the core.
totally.
In fact, when he told me this, I wanted to tell the viewers that the Janvi Kukreja case is still going on, and they're just delaying the dates. Viewers, I got a message from Nidhi yesterday saying that see they are looking at the case. Nothing has come out of that as well. So please understand. Instead of the courts interfering in what is happening in India, instead if they would solve the cases fast as they could, that they would do us a favor. So I hope you understand what I mean by this from today's news. Yeah. Thank you so much, Deepti, and
Thank you,
good
Minaji.
night.
Yeah, good night. Take care.
Bye.